Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
I can hear you, Zen. That's so awesome. Okay, let
Oh,
me let
praise
me
God.
let Justin know. Yeah, praise God. Okay, we got a lot of people praying for us then.
Okay,
It
good.
looks like he
Thank you.
started it up on YouTube. So praise
Okay,
yeah, we'll
praise
just
God.
keep
Yeah.
yeah, we'll wait until we can see it on YouTube. And okay, oh, Justin said yes, we are on. All right. So
Okay, wonderful.
shalom and hi everybody. We pray that you can hear us. I'm watching the chat. Okay, great. Sherry said that she heard the music intro and Sherry can hear me. Zen, do you want to try to talk and see if everyone can hear you all right?
Yes, yes. Hello, everybody. And I just wanted to announce that we were supposed to have the Bishop Sylvester guide on with us this evening and the Thracian Church, but I'm still having technical difficulties. I'm having to do this through my phone, and I wasn't sure if that was going to work. So we're going to reschedule with them, but they're going to start to come on with us once every other month or so and give us update on the Thracian Chronicles and how the translations are progressing, and to give us updates and to cover a lot of other topics as well. We're going to be doing AMAs with them as well, and they're going to allow people to ask them questions from the chat, and so that will be very interesting as well. But I do believe I'm going to have to, over the next week, swap out everything and just restart, resettle with a new computer. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to have issues or problems ongoing. So we're just going to reboot with a whole new setup. So just continue to pray for us and that we get all that settled and there's no more issues. And we're able to do shows. My voice is a little bit stronger, and so hopefully I'll be able to start doing shows where I can read and share the things that I've learned and new research and new study. And I'm definitely excited to do this with you, Lisa. I love the Great Commission 3, and for those that are interested in prophecy in this study, all the studies that are linked to the end time, the fig tree generation, this is the book to have, and this is all the narratives that are found in within it are definitely the ones to study to come to understanding, especially the revelation of Saint John the theologian, which we'll get to at some point. But glad to be with you, Lisa, and the rest of everybody.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that book too. But in the meantime, before we get to St. John the Theologian, I started at the show last week by just reading the whole table of contents from the Great Commission 3 because this is one of my favorite books. Also, Zen, I totally agree with you. And I also made the announcement to you that I believe someone asked you either on a live stream or at a conference what book would you choose out of all the books that you published through Sacred Word Publishing to take with you if you could just choose one through the tribulation? And did you say this one? Is that
Yes, it
correct?
would
I
be
want to make
this
sure.
one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Just because it's so nice to have all of the end time apocalypses together in one volume, and just the way that you put everything together in here, and the choices of the books that you've made that we'll be going through, here in the next several months or so. Just really looking forward to going through this with you because I remember when you and Rob were doing your shows and going through the book of Genesis, the book of Enoch, and you would bring up all of these amazing manuscripts to support the major books that you were covering. And a lot of times you would refer to this particular book, especially with the book of Enoch, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, absolutely. Because this book is absolutely pertinent to those of us that are alive now, and I do believe that we are the fig tree generation, and that we're going to see the fulfillment of all prophecy and the return of the Messiah. That these things will happen because of the blooming of the fig tree being connected to the reestablishment of Israel as a nation, which is something that has historically never occurred in the history of humanity or the world. And so the prophet said, that we would see the nation be born in a single hour, in a single day. And certainly this is something that occurred in our lifetime. Well, for those um, lifetime, meaning 70 to 80 years, according to Psalms 90:10. So those that have been here since 1948, when the mandate went forward to establish Israel, um, that this was the blooming of the fig tree. And so, yes, this manuscript is specifically for us. And we talked, and as you read with the index and the contents, it is all of the apocalyptic narratives, and many which most people are not familiar, have never read, never heard, never had chance to study. And it puts it all together in one place. And these stories, for those that aren't familiar, they are found in the 10 volumes of the Ante-Nicene Church Fathers, which were the dialogues between the bishops and the cardinals on which books should be included into the canon. And praise God that that dialogue and their conversations and the debate that they had, that those volumes did preserve a lot of these manuscripts, which otherwise would have been lost, because certainly they are found no other place. And so having these volumes, we have all of this extra biblical material, which is absolutely has historical precedence and is prophetic. And not all of them, of course, because there's a lot of information, and I'm not saying everyone is inspired, but certainly in reading and studying prophecy from the book of Revelation in our Bible, that all of these manuscripts add a great deal to the timeline and the narrative that is found within that particular text. And so I think that the people that are listening, that are going to follow and listen to all of these shows, that you're going to be greatly blessed. And it's, I do believe that you're going to want to have the book and the manuscripts for yourself in print form, just in case something were to happen, the internet go down, or electricity, whatever. To have it in actual print form, I think, will be a great blessing for people and families as we progress further towards the end of days.
Oh yes, yes, I totally agree, Zen, and I really missed you last week to have conversation with me about this
Yes, me
the
too.
first book in it, yeah, and to do kind of a little bit of an introduction. I wanted to, when we had previous discussions, then I believe we both find the translation of this particular text that Charlesworth has done, which is the right column in the Great Commission from Apocalypse of Abraham. And Charlesworth has some really, in his pseudepigraphal books, I believe you have copies of those as well, Zen. And I think we talked about this, and we both really like his translations quite a bit, especially in his notes at the bottom. And then he does a really good job, to me anyway, to introduce the books in his introductions, and kind of just tells a little bit about the text and the research that's done on it. And something that stood out for me, Zen, that I wanted to share real quick here when I was reading Charlesworth's Apocalypse of Abraham introduction. I like to always look and see, like, what was the oldest language that they've found, because we know that, they don't always go back totally all the way. But this particular one, it says that the translator studied only 10 passages from the Apocalypse of Abraham and concluded that the document probably was originally written in Hebrew, which gives it even more, to me, it gives it even more credibility, like to
Absolutely.
have it go back that far. And it says, and there, of course, there's two different translations that I was reading the last week, and the Great Commission puts both of those in there so conveniently, where I believe it's the right column is the translation that matches up with the one in Charlesworth's pseudepigraphal volume. And I think maybe the other one would have been the Slavonic. Do you recall, Zen, what translations these two columns were from? Because I believe that the right one would have been possibly, because it lines up perfectly with Charlesworth, so maybe that one was the one that came directly from the Hebrew. I'm not sure if you have any other insight on that I might be missing.
No, I don't. But that's a great question, and it's something that we should examine and bring up at some other point. Perhaps
Yeah.
we'll do, even just a keyword search over the top of the hour break
Okay.
and see what information we can find. But yeah, I think that is, I would be interested in what the other column is translated from. But I do like that we have both parallel and side by side, and that we're able to read them and review them.
Yeah, and Zen, just so you know, your microphone just got a little bit quiet. I was having just in the last minute or two.
Oh gosh.
There we go. There we go. Okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry.
That's
I'm
okay.
still figuring all this with the phone, so
No, that's okay. I'll just let you know. Just want to make sure everyone can hear what you're
yeah, thank
saying.
you.
Also, no, sure, sure. And then also too, going through the first 20 chapters, we'll be starting today, I believe, at chapter 21, where we left off from last week. And where we left off last week, actually, it was kind of like a question is the last sentence in chapter 20. And just we were talking about Azazel, and all the different names for Azazel. And we're going to even learn more about, I love this last section of Apocalypse of Abraham just because it really gives you a clear picture of what happened in the garden. And I'm looking forward to hearing you expound on that as well, Zen. So was there
Yes,
anything else
this
that you
is
wanted to add for the beginning 20 chapters? Was there anything else you wanted to discuss about the first chapters we did last week?
yeah, I just wanted to add really quickly that this manuscript, the Apocalypse of Abraham, not only does it gives us, insight into the biblical worldview, it speaks about the firmament and looking down from it to see all the people on the earth, um, as Enoch did with the book on the courses of the heavenly luminaries. But this manuscript also shows to us and tells us that Azazel is related in name to the serpent that beguiled Eve, and that instead of him being specified as Samael, as he's named in the Targum in Genesis chapter 3:6, there uh, we have his name being referenced as Azazel. And as I've been telling everybody, and which is also found in the Traditions of the Jews by Johann Eisenmenger, which was published in the 1700s, it also equates Samael, Azazel, and Semyaza as all being different names for the same individual. And we see that in the Bible, it ascribes all sin to Azazel, which would make sense if he were the one, being Samael, the angel of death, the viper of God that led astray the seraphic angels, and they fell and followed him and were cast out during the war in heaven. And that these particular beings have been here on the earth even before humanity was. They are legion. They are the powers, principalities, the rulers of darkness, that we wrestle not against flesh, but these powers. And so this manuscript goes into that in great detail and shows how Azazel, that Cain was derived from him, meaning, same as in First John chapter 3, verse 12, Cain being of that wicked one, and that word of there in the Greek meaning the son of, descendant of, child of the wicked one. And in same manner, this story is paralleled within this manuscript, which, again, in my opinion, it shows that this teaching is true. And it also shows to us as to what occurred in the garden, and that the beguilement of Eve, that the serpent, that he was actually a dragon, a feathered serpent, the winged guardian of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so when we get to that, it's undeniable. And then, as I said, we'll go through all the generations because it speaks about the children that would be born of Azazel through Cain, and that, Adam's bloodline would be at enmity between them, that there would be this ongoing war between these two bloodlines, and that it would continue to the end of the age and the second advent of Messiah.
Yes, yes. It's so important to make that distinguishment. And also too, I used to be so confused before I started diving into the extra biblicals of, all the different, there's so many different names for what we call Satan, Samael, Azazel. I mean, it's kind of, I think that on purpose, like he has all these different names just to confuse everyone and to try to disguise himself. And, because it says even he comes as an angel of light, right? So of
Yes.
course he's going to have all these different names and different personas and in different books just to try to confuse everyone. But thank you for clarifying all that, Zen. That really makes it much clearer in my mind anyway when we're studying these texts.
Yeah, no, that's, I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad that, we are all able to study and have dialogue together on these manuscripts, and it's going to be very interesting. Also, I would ask people to, if you have questions, we're going to start gathering questions together because I feel like I'm going to be strong enough to start doing the AMAs again,
All
which I'm
right.
so looking forward to doing that as well. And I want to, of course, do them with you because I believe that you have great insight and that you contribute greatly to the shows as well. And so I really appreciate you, Lisa, and having, just stepped in and done this for me over all this time. I know it's been a struggle, but I do see that I'm gaining strength, and I'll be able to do and to share the research that I've been wanting to do over the last 2 years. But the
Yes,
break has
yes.
been beneficial as well.
Oh, and it is an honor to be here, Zen. I wanted to do whatever I could to help you out, and I never thought that, like I said last time, I never thought I'd be doing this, but it's been such a huge blessing for me as well. And instead of just being, in the chat and trying to figure out things and ask questions in the chat, I actually get to have a discussion with you in person, So it's been a huge blessing for me as well, Zen. I'm just more than happy to help out however I can, and I look forward to doing the AMAs with you. Thank you, brother. And I'm sure
Yeah,
everyone
no.
else is super excited for you to be back, and your voice is so much stronger, and our prayers are being answered. Zen, it's amazing to see this miracle happening with you.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And thank you, everybody in the chat as well. And one other thing before we get into the study, and that has to do that we did cover this entire manuscript in the Digital Readers Club. We had read through with all those that were gathered for the study. And so you can find that playlist on our Zen Garcia YouTube channel as well. If you are wanting to, listen or go forward or to review that content, because we did, all as we do with all the Digital Reader Club's shows, we read through and then we had dialogue and discussion and Q&A. And so those are, I think, would be beneficial for people to listen to if you want greater understanding and more commentary on this subject matter.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I highly suggest if you want to hear other comments from everybody with Digital Readers Club, that was a cool study that we've been doing on. I mean, I think that was part of all the apocalypses we kind of did in a row there several years ago. And now to go back
Yeah.
through it, it's always beneficial. And you can tell so much the writings that are written by godly people at the very least, and those that are inspired, because every time you go back and read through them, we learn something new, right?
Right.
And it's
Yes.
always through the Holy Spirit, just speaking through these manuscripts. And as we get closer to the tribulation, I believe it's going to be even more revealed, which I can't even imagine, but it's just more manuscripts is what I can see happening. And there's been some discussion going on in the chat, by the way. Zen Brick said that he listens to the Thracian manuscript about Longinus every week, and so that made me think, oh, that's so cool that you're going to be able to have the bishop on to discuss those manuscripts as well. That's such a valuable study, and it's kind of like the first time that they've actually even released those, even just to hear them orally is just amazing.
Yes, yes, and we have been greatly privileged to be able to share those in audio. I still don't currently have permission to share the manuscripts that I do have. I have like 4 or 5 different manuscripts which are not found anywhere else in English, and I have shared those on different audio shows, broadcasts. But I do hope, and we are praying that we'll reach the point where we can actually release them all together and publish in print form. Um, and we're getting closer. I know that it's been a long and enduring uh, journey with regard to these manuscripts, but at least they are out there for you to be able to hear and listen and consider them, because I do believe that they are without a doubt inspired, and that they have also been a confirming witness to a number of the different topics that I've covered in my work, like serpent seed and pre-existence and the Holy Spirit being the feminine aspect of the Godhead. And so, that has just been an outside witness to the veracity of what the Most High has been leading to in discernment. And so that has been a great blessing in my life as well. And there's so much more. There's like hundreds and hundreds of pages still yet to be um, translated from a number of different sources. And so I look forward to getting those and sharing those with you as well. They are being worked on by my good friend Stella. And she's also going to be coming on with us. For those that remember, she joined us at the conference, and she and I spoke together and did a where we talked about the Thracian manuscripts, and then we had the video that the bishop had sent in where he talked about the Thracian material as well, and the Thracian church and all of that. And so if you're interested in seeing that and hearing it, you can find it as part of the playlist from our last conference, Sacred Word Revealed, which we did here as well.
Yes, that it was such a blessing to be able to meet her in person. Also, we had some great conversations with her,
Yes.
and yeah, and then she's reached out to us as well through Facebook
Awesome.
Messenger, and yeah,
That's
it's
great.
nice to get to know these people that are, it's just the information that they bring forth just adds so much to all the research you've already done, Zen, and I just think it's so cool to be so privileged to be a part of all that.
Yeah, for me as well. And so it's a great blessing, and I do look forward to um, getting together with the bishop and having my voice stronger, and I'll get all this settled with the sound and the mic and everything. And then we'll continue to bring forth intriguing and new information for all of your considerations. So we appreciate all. Oh, one other thing as well. I was going to send all the books out this week, the Skyfall books, but um, Justin left them here, so he'll pick them up this weekend when I see them, and they will be shipped out. So those of you that did donate to the orphanage and those that bought T-shirts that I made promises to send out, and Sherry and Tammy, others, I will be sending those out. And so look for them next week. Sometime it'll probably be, a week to 10 days before they get to you, but they will be shipped out after the weekend. And thanks for your patience, everybody.
Yeah, and speaking of Sherry and Tammy, thank you so much, sisters, for always doing such a great job moderating in the chat and keeping everything friendly. And other people have said that the chat that you have here, Zen, is probably the most friendliest chat on YouTube that they've ever
That's
seen,
awesome.
and it's so welcoming, and they always have been putting up links to where to buy the books and for what verses we're reading. I mean, they're really on it, these two, and I
They
really
really
appreciate
are.
them. They
They
really
are
are.
sharp and very quick as well. So, yes, we do appreciate you, sisters, and for moderating when the trolls come in as well. Thank
Yes.
you for all that you do. Yes. And my son, I want to thank Justin for, all the technical aspects that he does. Not a lot of people are aware of, because he's like the hidden hand behind all of what
Yes.
we are doing. But I couldn't do it without him, and so thank you, son.
Yeah, and Joy also, I'm not sure if you're aware, Zen, but when you're in the hospital, Justin taught Joy actually how to get some of the shows started for us. So
Yes,
she was
yes,
learning
yes. I
also.
was aware. Yes, and she is a, a godsend. She's wonderful, and I'm so grateful to both of them for all that they have done, and picking up the mantle of Sacred Word Publishing and sending out all the books, and the calendar orders are also being fulfilled. Justin's been working on that. We did finish that this week, and thank you, Sherry, and you as well, Lisa, for reviewing the PDF copy, and Sherry was able to catch something for me, but they are completed, and so they will be sent out, and you'll be able to follow along. And I'm looking forward to feedback from all of you on that as well. But
Oh
let's
yeah,
get into
it
the
looks
study when you're ready, Lisa.
okay. Yeah, and just quick comment on the calendar. You guys are in for a treat. The calendar looks really good. Yeah, I saw you had Sherry on there too, and Sherry and her husband did catch some things. So thank you again, Zen, for trusting us enough to send that out. And so we had a chance to have that sneak preview. So if you do you know when the calendar will be available, or is it up on the website already, Zen?
The pre-orders are already being on the website taken, but Justin's fulfilling those orders, and he has been, um, either today or whenever, but it's done. And so as soon as he gets time and space, he's going to fulfill all those orders and have them shipped out. So I would think probably a week before you receive them, a week to 10 days, because they have to publish them and then they ship them out worldwide. So
Oh, great, great. Oh, and I want to make a real quick note. I keep thinking of things. Just in this past week, I'm not sure if you're aware of this then, but Justin and Joy have been working with me. Actually, it's taken me kind of a long time to get this item out, but there's a new item in Sacred Word Publishing Community Store. If you want to take a look over
awesome.
there. I was a seamstress before. I did some fashion design, and I designed a linen tank top for
Awesome.
right next to the skin for women, and there's also one coming for men as well. So I'll be sending you one of those then so you can try that out. And but it's 100% organic knit linen, so it's stretchy.
Oh, that's
But
so cool.
yeah, and it's in one color, but it comes in several sizes. And I even do custom orders also. So if you want to go and check that out, everyone, it's the new item that is now in community store. And I actually sent one of them to Nathan and Chelsea Reynolds because I know they're like the linenites,
Yes,
just to
yes.
get some feedback from them and to see if their community would be interested in them as well.
Awesome. I'm sure there will be a large market for them, in the same manner that all the EMF blockers that Noble has been putting together, that people are very much interested in those as well.
Yeah, yes, yes. But on that, let's go ahead and get started. For everyone, thank you, Sherry, for remembering where we were. We are starting at chapter 1 in the Apocalypse of Abraham. And this is the Great Commission 3, the End Time Apocalypses, that was published by Sacred Publishing. And there's two different columns then. I'm not, how did you want to do that? Like the last time I would just go like chapter by chapter and read one column first and then go back and read the other column. But I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember exactly how you did that when you did studies on this before.
Yeah, let's you read the whichever one that you want to do. So you're more familiar with the right-handed column Is
Yes,
that
yes.
the Charlesworth?
Yeah,
So
if you don't
you
mind,
do
that
the
would be
right
good.
side and I'll do the left side, and we'll go chapter by chapter, and then we'll share commentary after we go through each chapter.
All right, sounds good. So you want to go ahead and start then, Zen?
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
Okay.
chapter 21. And he said to me, look now beneath your feet at the firmament and understand the creation that was depleted of old on this expanse, and the creatures which are in it, and the age prepared after it. And I looked beneath the firmament at my feet, and I saw the likeness of heaven, and the things that were therein. And I saw there the earth, and its fruit, and its moving things, and its things that had souls, and its host of men, and the impiety of their souls, and their justification, and their pursuit of their works, and the abyss, and its torments, and its lower depths, and the perdition in it. And I saw there the sea and its islands, and its cattle and its fish, and Leviathan and his realm, and his bed, and his lairs, and the world which lay upon him, and his motions, and the destruction he caused the world. I saw there the rivers, and their upper reaches, and their circles, and I saw there the garden of Eden, and its fruits, and the source, and the river flowing from it, and its trees, and their flowering, making fruits. And I saw men doing justice in it, their food and their rest. And I saw there a great crowd of men and women and children, half of them on the right side of the betrayal, and the half of them on the left side of the betrayal.
Okay, and the right column is, and he said to me, look now beneath your feet at the firmaments and understand the creation represented and foreshadowed in this expanse, the creatures who exist upon it, and the ages prepared for it. And I saw beneath the surface of my feet, even beneath the sixth heaven and what was therein, and then the earth and its fruits, and what moved upon it, and its animate beings, and the power of its men, and the ungodliness of some of its souls, and the righteous deeds of other souls. And I saw the lower regions and the perdition therein, the abyss and its torments. And I saw the sea and its islands, its monsters and its fishes, and Leviathan and his dominion, his camping ground and his caves, and the world which lay above him, his movements and the destructions of the world on his account. And I saw there were streams and the rivers, and the rising of their waters, and their windings in their courses. And I saw there the Garden of Eden and its fruits, the source of the river that issues from it, the trees and their blossoms, and the ones who behaved righteously. And I saw therein their foods and their blessedness. And I saw there a great multitude, men and women and children, half of them on the right side of the vision, and half of them on the left side of the vision.
Perfect.
Zen, you got it?
Yes. And so we see that this chapter, as I had made comment about before, that Abraham is looking down from the firmament. The very first verse, and he said to me, look now beneath your feet at the firmament and understand the creation that was depicted of old. And so, in the same manner, I believe Enoch was also, as I explained in my Flat Earth as Key to Decrypt the Book of Enoch, decrypting the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries, that Enoch was also taken up to where the heavenly throne room is, which, as we see referenced in Isaiah 14, that it is above the Mount Zion, or the Mount of the congregation, where the sons of God gather together in council with the Most High, and that beneath this, beneath Polaris, and beneath the firmament, uh, as John also said, that a sea of glass like unto crystal, that this is the firmament which serves as the floor of the heavenly throne room, but as the roof of our world. Like the firmament divides the waters above from the waters below. And so Abraham is shown in similarity. He sees the entirety of the world in the same way that when Yahushua was taken to that exceeding high mountain and shown all the kingdoms of the world, Abraham is witness to the same thing. And he's describing it here. And he tells us that he sees, the firmament beneath him, the earth spread out before him, all the people, and that the people are both on the left and the right side. That the left side are the children of perdition, or those that follow the broad path of destruction. And those that are on the right side are the children of the seed of the woman, the children of Adam, the seed of promise. And so this theme will continue to play out as we go through the story. One last thing, and this has to do with another manuscript that I had discovered a long time ago, and I shared. It's from the medieval Irish Apocrypha. It was the Ever New Tongue, and it was about the Apostle Philip and how he had his tongue cut out like 7 times. And the Most High allowed it to continue to grow back so that he could profess the truth to the world. And he, in that particular manuscript, does the same thing and describes creation in this same manner, looking down from the firmament and seeing the fullness of the world spread out as a flat plain beneath him.
Yes, yeah, it kind of also reminds me, and I have a feeling as we get further into these apocalyptic texts in this book that we're going to come across quite a few of these depictions, and they're all so much alike, like you were describing. It also kind of reminds me of the Testament of Levi and
Yes,
the
I was
vision that
about
he
to
had.
mention that.
Oh, you
Yeah,
were okay.
yeah,
Yeah, there's that one. I mean, there's just so many that, I mean, to me, like before I even realized what the firmament was, maybe when was that? 10 years ago or so, I think is when all of that whole flat Earth uh, thing kind of erupted online, and I was still researching and trying to. I always wondered what did that mean, the firmament? Like we read it so many times in the King James and in Genesis 1 and in creation, and I was wondering what in the world that was, and no explanation that any pastor or Bible scholar or college professor would give, which they rarely tried to describe it, of course, would satisfy my curiosity because I kept thinking that makes no sense. Like if we're on the spinning globe and to have this firm thing above us that
right.
is that they say is most likely made of rock, and then a lot of times they try to explain it away like, oh well, before the flood there was this like enclosure around the globe, and then when the flood
Right.
happened that all got destroyed. But that doesn't make sense because David even describes it, and Isaiah describes it
Yes,
later on as being there
right,
still.
right. And Isaiah says that, the Most High sits upon the circle of the earth and that the heavens are spread above it. And, that it forms the shape of a tent, which when
Yes.
you look at the tent, you have the earth as the floor and then the firmament spread as, the snow globe above it. And that is the dynamic of the world as it's described in so many places. In my 10th book, The Firmament Vaulted Dome of the Earth, goes into great detail on this, that, the firmament is described as Amos says in chapter 9, verse 6, that, that it is uh, a vaulted dome. And so, yeah, you find the word rakia, which is the word for firmament, and even the Latin word for firmament, that word firm means hard, rock-like, and the rakia is in similarity. We have Job described it as a molten looking glass, and so yeah, the firmament is a indestructible enclosure for the world. In the book of Enoch, he describes it as the lofty roof of the world.
Wow. Yes. I love all those descriptions. It's like it seems like the enemy must have had blinders on a lot of us here before about 10 years ago when it seemed like, okay, knowledge is increasing, so we're getting close to the end times. So we better make sure that everyone realizes what this firmament is, those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, right?
Right.
And it was a very, for me, it was very difficult just because I'd been teaching the globe for how many years? You know, I was an educator and it was just really, oh my goodness. When the first Flat Earth video I watched was from Noble's brother. He actually introduced it to
Oh,
us and
really? That's so
he
cool.
said, yeah, he said, oh, you guys got to watch this video. But the thing is, I didn't react very well. I watched it and I was so mad at him. You know how you always like end up
Right.
with cognitive dissonance, right? You end up getting mad at the messenger or something. So I
Yeah.
fully experienced that. For 2 months, I would not talk to him because I was like,
Oh
this
my
is
goodness.
ridiculous. This is crazy. This is ridiculous. But yes, I got over that. I apologized to him and I thanked him so many times over after I finally got that through my head. And I appreciate
Well,
your research you did on that, Zen, just because I tended to always go to your videos when you were describing the flat earth and all the biblical passages and the extra biblicals. Your approach to it was so much different than the majority of YouTube channels that were out there that did not link it to biblical passages, and they tended to more go with the science. But I really
uh,
appreciate your approach and Rob's as well. That I always reverted back to your research on it and Rob's, and to me it just seemed the most firmly grounded because it was biblical.
yes. And, I tried to bring it forth from the description of the creation, the first 7 days of creation, from numerous different manuscripts. And when you put all of those together in parallel account, it's undeniable that the world is like a snow globe, that the firmament is this hard, indestructible enclosure that is fitted to the circle of the earth, and that the stars being created, the planets on the fourth day, the greater and the lesser luminary, they were placed into orbit within and under the firmament, which was fitted to the circle of the earth. And so that tells you, that without a doubt, they are very much smaller in proportion than that other size and dimension of the earth or the
Yes,
firmament.
yes. We do have a quick question in chat, Zen, from Dale Stevenson.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
a lot of chat going on about, flat earthers, how other people woke up, but Dale is asking, where is the outer darkness? I'm not
I
sure if
think
I
the
could
the
answer that.
outer darkness is that which is past and goes above even the firmament and the seventh heaven, where the throne of the Most High is located. When you read the book of Enoch, it describes the Aravath, and Aravath is the highest heaven, the 10th heaven, and that it says that this is where the darkness of where the um, even some of the stars and constellations are embedded, but that we see them, within the firmament, and that a lot of the stars and the celestial beings are found like these 7 planetary, the wandering stars. They are within the firmament, but there is an expanse above the firmament, and that it is also, the waters above the firmament, I believe, is why we see the sky as blue. But if you've ever seen a video on the sonic luminescence, it shows how sound vibration, that when you have an air pocket within water and you introduce sound frequency, high levels. It creates the sonic luminescence, and it creates what we would see in perspective as stars. And that stars, the light, the gleam, their luster, the shine, that it works just like the sonic luminescence of uh, inserting frequency into air bubbles and creating light. And so check that out if you have not as well. You
Yes.
can find videos on YouTube which show this dynamic.
Yeah, I agree, Zen. It's so cool to see that. And Kyle mentioned in the chat also, have you heard of the star in a jar? I think I saw a video on
No,
that also. Maybe Kyle, if you could describe where we can find that link, if there's a video or some photos, that would be cool to see.
yeah, please share a link. That would be interesting.
Okay. You ready
All
to
right.
continue, Zen?
Yeah,
Chapter
chapter
22?
22. I think we should be able to get through this before we get to break.
Okay.
Chapter 22. And I said, Eternal Mighty One, what is the picture of creation? And he said to me, This is my will with regard to what is in the light. And it was good before my face. And then afterward, I gave them a command by my word, which we know that is Christ.
Mhm.
And they came into existence. Whatever I had decreed was to exist had already been outlined in this and all the previously created things you have seen stood before me. And I said, O sovereign, mighty God, eternal, why are the people in this picture on this side and on that? And he said to me, These who are on the left side are a multitude of tribes who existed previously. And after you, some who have been prepared for judgment and order, others for revenge and perdition at the end of the age. Those on the right side of the picture are the people set apart for me, of the people with Azazel. These are the ones I have prepared to be born of you and to be called my people.
Okay, right column. And I said, O eternal, mighty one, what is this vision and picture of the creatures? And he said to me, This is my will for those who exist in the divine world council, for thus it seemed well pleasing in my sight. And so afterwards I gave commandment to them through my word. And so it came to pass that whatever I had determined to be was already planned beforehand in this picture vision before you. And it has stood before me before it was created, as you have seen. And I said, O Lord, mighty and eternal, who are the people in this picture on this side and that? And he said to me, Those who are on the left side are all those born before your day and afterwards, some destined for judgment and restoration, and others for vengeance and cutting off at the end of the age. But those on the right side of the picture, they are the people who have been set apart for me, and whom I have ordained to be born of your line and called my people, even some of those who derive from Azazel.
Now that's very important, that last sentence that you said.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of those who derive from Azazel. That word derive there is find origin from, so they are the people, as it says, Cain, who was of that wicked one. It is this bloodline, the seed of the serpent, that derives from Azazel. Because the serpent that beguiled Eve impregnated her with Cain. And Cain was not the firstborn son of Adam and Eve. He was the son of Eve, Hava, meaning life giver, and Samael, the viper of God, the angel of death. as it says again in Genesis chapter 3:6 of the Targum. And so this Azazel is the same as what we call Lucifer or Sataniel, the adversary of El. Um, Semyaza, my name is Aza.
Mm.
Shem, my name is Aza. Semyaza, same thing, Azazel. And as I said, you can find confirming witness of this in the Johann Eisenmenger manuscript, The Traditions of the Jews. He states this emphatically within that manuscript as well. We've got just 3 minutes remaining, Lisa, so I'll give you a chance to comment and then we'll go to break.
Okay, I wanted to, Sherry put a great quote in the chat that totally relates with this from Matthew 25:31-46. Just part of that, she said, "And it shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left.
Yes.
Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come ye blessed." And she even put it like on the left and on the right, typically refers to a symbolic division where the right side represents favor or blessing. So and that's from Yeshua himself, from the Messiah, you know.
Yes.
So it's totally, everything is interconnected here. I did have a really quick question. I think we have a couple minutes here for you, Zen, about the where he talks about he mentions in verse 3, he said, these who are on the left side are a multitude of tribes who existed previously. I was looking at that word previously. Do you think that that's talking about just before Abraham's time or before the flood, or is he referring to maybe a different world age, like the pre-existent, the
Yes.
pre-creation?
Great question. I do. It is my opinion that yes, he is speaking of the previous world age, because as I've covered in my books on the pre-Adamites and the antediluvian world, that the fallen ones were cast out on the second day. They were here long before we were. They've been here for a very long time as well, much longer than we were. And they created a world, the world that then was, as described in 2 Peter. This is the world of the cyclopean megalithic structures that are aligned to the stars, the solstices, and the equinoxes that are found everywhere across all the continents. And we see that even under the ocean, that there was a time when the sea levels were different and that much of the land, which is now submerged, was above water. And the cities there's a multitude of the cities, as it says in Jeremiah, that, there was a time when there was not yet man, and yet the birds of the wilderness fled and the cities of the wilderness were destroyed. And so it's speaking about that time, that world age, and those people. And I do believe that he is equating them with the left because it was these people, the pre-Adamites, they were part of that. They had been conceived of from, the bestiality of the fallen angels, and there were giants even in that time as well, and they involved themselves in, trying to enslave the pre-Adamites, and they, as it says in a lot of the Sumerian texts and other places, they were involved in doing direct genetic experimentation, even introducing their own seed into that of the pre-Adamites that were here before us. All right, we'll be right back, everyone, for a second.
Sacred work other than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work and praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store.
Show them what we got there.
All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right,
Shimon.
welcome back, everybody, for a second hour. I'm here together with Lisa George, and we are reading from the Great Commission 3, the End Time Apocalyptic Narratives. And in the first show, Lisa did go over the contents and shared all the manuscripts that we'll be covering in this series. But I do believe that it's going to be very, very interesting, especially for those that have not heard about or read or studied any of these manuscripts that are contained within this book. Lisa?
Yeah, thank you, Zen, and welcome everyone back. I actually was looking in this Charlesworth book, at the introduction for this book, and I found a very interesting tie. I think you might be interested in hearing this as well, Zen, about the translations of this book here. And the ties to Bulgaria, of all places, that's like where Thracian manuscripts. I know, we were just talking about that. So this is under the section called The Transmission of the Apocalypse of Abraham. I'll just read the first couple lines of this, where it says, the Slavonic apocalypse of Abraham is to be ascribed to the extraordinarily productive burst of cultural activity during the reign of Simeon of Bulgaria from 893 to 927, when a prodigious amount of material was translated from Greek into Old Church Slavonic as part of the effort of the Bulgarian emperor to bring his realm to the level of Byzantium itself. The translation contains Greek words well known from Old Church Slavonic, along with the conventional bizarre rendering of Gehenna as a fiery race, and numerous literalistic phrases that make better sense in Greek than in Slavonic. There can be no question this text, like the whole Slavonic culture of Bulgaria at the time, was translated from Greek. So that's talking about the other translation. We're reading those two columns, for those of you just joining us, Zen and I are reading through the Apocalypse of Abraham, and there's two different translations to English that we're reading from. So if you hear the same thing twice, that's why we're going through each chapter. So, but we are on chapter 23. Did you have anything else then before we start reading?
No, other than I'm glad that you looked that up, and that is very interesting because it is confirming witness again to me of the veracity of the Thracian material, because the Thracian Empire, which preceded even that of the Egyptian, and that the hieroglyphic system, as Dr. Guide and his brother, the bishop, the 3-book set that they release on the Thracian script decoded, it shows that the Bulgarian, the Boharic language, is the most ancient written language in the world, and that it precedes that of the hieroglyphic system found in Egypt. And it makes sense because in the book of Ari, which is one of the Thracian texts that I read from, Ari meaning the guardian of the secrets, the keepers of the wisdom, that in this manuscript it talks about how the Thracian Empire ruled over all of that in Mesopotamia, and that they are 2,000 years older than the Sumerian Empire, which most historians believe to be the oldest in the world. And they were believers in the word of the Lord, and they also the feminine aspect of the Godhead, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. And so this material is, again, just confirmation to me as to the Thracians being the oldest manuscripts and being tied to a lot of that material, that even the Slavonic was translated from what was the original, even the Greek that we find, that all of that, that the Thracian preceded all of that. But very interesting. I'm glad you looked that up. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, no problems. And I just thought it was so ironic. We were just talking about the Bulgarian translations of the Thracian manuscripts, and it turns out what we're reading is also
Bulgarian.
So, yeah. All right. Are you ready to continue with chapter 23? Okay.
Yeah, chapter 23. Look again at the picture. Who is the one who seduced Eve? And what is the fruit of the tree? And you will know what will be and how much will be for your seed in the last days. And what you cannot understand, I will make known to you, because you have been pleasing before my face. And I will tell you what I have kept in my heart. And I looked at the picture, and my eyes ran to the side of the Garden of Eden. And I saw there a man, very great in height and terrible in breadth, incomparable in aspect, entwined with a woman who was also equal to the man in aspect and size. And they were standing under a tree of Eden. And the fruit of the tree was like the appearance of a bunch of grapes of the vine. And behind the tree was standing something like a dragon in form, but having hands and feet like a man's. On his back, 6 wings on the right and 6 on the left. And he was holding the grapes of the tree and feeding them to the two I saw entwined with each other. And I said, who are these two entwined with each other? Or who is this between them? And what is the fruit which they are eating, mighty one, eternal? And he said, this is the world of men. This is Adam, and this is their thought on earth. This is Eve. And he who is between them is the impiety of their behavior unto perdition, Azazel himself. And I said, Eternal, mighty one, why then did you adjudge them, adjudge him such dominion, that through his works he could ruin humankind on earth? And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, those who desire evil, and all whom I have hated, as they commit them, over them did I give him dominion, and he was to be beloved of them. And I answered and said, Eternal mighty one, why did it please you to bring it about that evil should be desired in the heart of man? Because you were angered at what was chosen by you, him who does useless things in your light.
Okay, right column. Now, look again in the picture and see who it is who seduced Eve and what is the fruit of the tree, and you will know what is to be and how it shall be with your seed among the people at the end of the days of the age. And all that you cannot understand, I will make known to you, for you are well pleasing in my sight, and I will tell you of those things which are kept in my heart. And I looked into the picture, and my eyes ran to the side of the Garden of Eden, and I saw there a man of imposing height and mighty in stature, incomparable in aspect, and he was embracing a woman, who likewise approximated to the aspect of his size and stature. And they were standing under a tree of the Garden of Eden, and the fruit of this tree was like a bunch of grapes of the vine. And standing behind the tree was one who had the aspect of a serpent, having hands and feet like those of a man, and wings on its shoulders, 6 pairs of wings, so that there were 6 wings on the right and 6 on the left. And as I continued looking, I saw the man and the woman eating the fruit from the tree. And I said, Who are these who are embracing, and who is the one between them who is behind the tree, and what is the fruit that they are eating? And he said, This is the counsel of the world. This one is Adam, and this one who is their desire upon the earth is Eve. But he who is between them represents ungodliness and their beginnings on the way to perdition, even Azazel. And I said, O eternal mighty one, why have you given such as him the power to destroy the generations of men in their works upon the earth? And he said to me, Those who will do evil over them, I gave him power, even to be beloved of them. And I answered and said, O eternal mighty one, wherefore is it your will that evil should be desired in the hearts of men, since you are indeed angered over that which you see? It is your will, and you are angry with him who is doing what is unprofitable in your counsel. Okay, Zen?
Awesome. This is certainly one of my most favorite chapters. And as you can tell from the reading, when I first discovered this manuscript, it was the confirming witness to all that had written about serpent seed and the seduction of Eve. And that word seduce being, wholly seduce, expatio, the word in the Greek, meaning wholly seduced, beguiled, Eve was beguiled, wholly seduced by the serpent, and that this serpent was not a snake in form and did not slither around on his belly, but was a reptilian humanoid, and that he was like a dragon in aspect, and that Cain, when he was born of this wicked one, he also took on a seraphic appearance. And so we see that the fruit, certainly they did eat of this fruit, and it opened their eyes. And as I explained in my manuscripts and the work that I've done, I believe that fruit to have been hallucinogenic and that it had psychotropic properties, and that not only did it open their eyes so that the tree was pleasing to their sight, but it opened their minds so that they knew good and evil like the angels of God. And, this story, it shows to us that the one that had fed them this fruit and that had seduced Eve was this dragon, this seraphic angelic being, and that he is called, as we see in this manuscript, Azazel. And it is to Azazel that all sin is ascribed. And so this chapter, when I first read it, it blew my mind. Because again, it was in a paragraph, in a chapter, and with the side by side columns, two confirming witnesses to there actually being the bloodline, those who are derived from Azazel, the seed of the serpent, the children of perdition. And you have to understand that this is the war, this is the battle. Even as Sherry had put Matthew chapter 25, on those that are on the left, the goats, and those that are on the right, the sheep, the wheat and the tares. Same thing. The harvest at the end of days. The tares will be gathered for perdition, for burning and condemnation, whereas the wheat will be gathered for preservation. And so it's the same story over and over playing out through all of the manuscripts. And one just has to have an open mind and an open heart to um, to open themselves to the possibility of this teaching and this lesson. And when you do, it brings so much truth forward from so much that is available out there, especially the canonical materials.
Yeah. Oh, I was blown away by this chapter too. When I first read it, I thought, wow, it gives so much detail, and this chapter is just so full. I wanted to read, I think this is pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen this before, Zen, but the first verse of this chapter, I'm looking at Charlesworth's notes here from the translation in Slavonic, and it's when it says, who is the one who seduced Eve, and what is the fruit of the tree? There's a little note there. And in Slavonic, that word for tree is dreva or kreva, and it's actually supposed to be translated from Slavonic as what is the fruit of the womb.
Oh, wow.
I know, I thought,
so cool.
yeah, it's like right here. I was like, I couldn't wait to share that with you when I was reviewing this chapter. I thought, wow, this is that even, it's like so clear right there.
Yes, and even in the Hebrew, when you look up the word for fruit, Perrier, it means seed, descendants, children. The fruit, zera, tree, Perrier, all of those. We have the family tree of humanity. In Isaiah chapter 14, Lucifer, Hallel, the son of the morning, he is described as the abominable branch, and his children are called the seed of the evildoers. And so, again, over and over, the parable of the wheat and the tares in Matthew chapter 13. It is the enemy which snuck into the garden that sowed the tares. And Yeshua said, let both grow together until the time of the end. And at the time of the end, he would send forth the angels to reap and to gather both the wheat and the tares. And so, yeah, I love this chapter.
Yes.
And I thank you for sharing that as well, because without a doubt, the fruit of the beguilement was a child was born, and that child was Cain, who was of the wicked one.
Yes, yes. And also, too, I wanted to just share about this fruit. This is from the research that I've been doing with Tim Schwab from the God Culture and tracing down exactly what this fruit is that grows on a tree, but it looks like
Yeah,
grapes, like a cluster of grapes. I
right,
think you probably heard him share that there's a particular fruit that it looks, I mean, there's pictures of this in their books, and I've actually was eating this like crazy when I was in the Philippines. It's called lanzones. And if you go back to the original Tagalog for lanzon or lachon, it actually means poison. And ironically, it actually tastes like a very sweet grapefruit. So that made me think, okay, I wonder why they called these huge fruits that have nothing to do with grapes grapefruit. But I'm thinking that that was traced back to that taste. It had the same taste as the fruit that looks like grapes but grows on a tree. And so if you put all that together, we also you introduced me to the text Zen of Third Baruch, where it describes the enemy was the one that planted that particular tree
yeah,
to tempt Adam and Eve purposely. And so that would answer the question that I get asked a lot: is why would the Most High plant that tempting evil tree in His holy garden? You know, well, it really wasn't Him that planted it. You know what I mean? And
right.
that lashon, the root word of lanzones, lashon, uh, you know, there's stories among the ancients in the Philippines that have been passed down about this particular tree and why they called it lashon, because that means poison, and it did used to be a poisonous hallucinogenic fruit. So
Oh, wow.
I
That
know,
is
so
so
everything
crazy.
I know it's so tied together. But today, they even have an ancient story that of how the fruit became not poisonous, and that I think it was somebody who was really hungry, and there was only the lanzones tree that was available to him to eat before he passed out. So he prayed. This was in the Philippines. He prayed, and an angel came and spoke to him and said, "Okay, I've made this fruit no longer lashon, or no longer poisonous." And so he ate it. He didn't get sick or have hallucinations or anything. And so people have been eating it ever since then, and it's fine. I mean, I ate huge bags of this when I was in the Philippines. It's so delicious.
Nice.
Yeah, and it really does look like clusters of grapes, but you have to peel them. Similar to lychee. I don't know if you've tried those, or longan, I think is another type of fruit that looks like grapes that you have to peel. But just to put all that together, that's from Tim and Anna Schwab's research. But I was just blown away when I read about all that. And we actually went to the island where they actually have a Lanzones festival every October, and everybody on that island. We were talking to our tour guide, and he said everybody on this island who's grown up here, everybody has a Lanzones tree in their yard,
That
just
is
because.
so cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
would
so
love to
delicious.
eat that fruit
Oh my goodness,
one
it
day.
is. Yes, one day you will, then. It's just and it's such a treat because I don't know any place else that actually grows that fruit besides the Philippines. So, just to kind of tie some things together there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And yes, that chapter and the things that you shared, I mean, they're just absolutely mind blowing. I mean, and how can you deny that what happened in Genesis 3 was, that Eve was beguiled, as it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, that Paul says that she was not a chaste virgin because she was beguiled by the serpent, wholly seduced, and impregnated with Cain, who was the child of the wicked one. So, yeah, all that comes forth very clear here. And we're going to see as we move forward in the chapters as well that those that are derived of Azazel are the seed of the evildoers, described in Isaiah chapter 14 as well. So, chapter 24. And he said to me thus, close to the nations, for your sake and for the sake of those set apart after you, the people of your tribe, as you will see in the picture, what is burdened on them. and I will explain to you what will be and everything that will be in the last days. Look now at everything in the picture. And I looked and I saw there the creatures that had come into being before me. And I saw, as it were, Adam and Eve, who was with him, and with them the crafty adversary, and Cain, who had been led by the adversary to break the law. And I saw the murdered Abel, and the perdition brought on him, and given through the lawless one. And I saw there fornication, and those who desired it, and its defilement, and their zeal, and the fire of the corruption in the lower depths of the earth. And I saw their theft, and those who hastened after it, and the system of their retribution, the judgment of the great court. I saw their naked men, forehead to forehead, and their shame, and the harm they wrought against their friends, and the retribution. And I saw their desire, and in her hand was the head of every kind of lawlessness, and her torment, and her dispersal, destined to destruction.
Okay, right column. And he said to me, I am angered by mankind on your account, and on account of those who shall be of your family hereafter. For as you can see in the picture, the burden of destiny is placed upon them, and I shall tell you what shall be, and how much shall be in the last days. Look now at everything in the picture. And I looked and saw what was before me in creation. I saw Adam and Eve with him, and I saw the cunning adversary, and Cain, who acted lawlessly through the promptings of the adversary. And I saw the slaughtered Abel, and the destruction brought about and caused upon him through the lawless one. And I saw impurity and those who lust after it, and its pollution and their jealousies, and the fire of their corruption in the lowest parts of the earth. And I saw theft and those who hasten after it, and the arrangement of their retribution at the judgment of the great assize. And I saw their naked men with their foreheads against each other, and their disgrace, and the passions which they had for each other, and their retribution. And I saw desire, and in her hand the head of every kind of lawlessness, and her scorn and contempt and waste assigned to perdition.
Yes, how awesome. And again, we see that the children that are born of Cain, they are abominable. They act in a very unnatural manner. And that homosexuality, as we see, was derived from that particular bloodline. And I do believe that part of that was the incorporation of the giants and the fallen angels with the daughters of Cain. That, the giants, once they outgrew uh, their own kind and there was no more women amongst them, that once they grew to a certain size, they could no longer have sexual relations with human women. And they had to, in my opinion, turn to each other, which is described also in the writings of Abraham, chapter 1:15, where it talks about the lawlessness of Sodom and Gomorrah and the other cities of the plain, and the things that they would do to even travelers that came through their city, and how they would molest them and put them on public display for any member of their city to basically rape, whether man or woman. I mean, it's, they are involved in abomination. We see that that particular bloodline, and the advancement of abomination would take place and would become a natural thing at the end of days, and that it is for these things that they will be judged. And we know that, you know, in certain chapters, there's description of the witchcraft and the sorceries and the pedophilia and, the homosexuality, the bestiality, those kind of things. Those are corruptions, abominations, and they are in no manner supported by the Most High, even though some aspects of the church are now trying to embrace, the individuals that, or people, or, the groups that are engaged in such behaviors. But, again, these things are abomination. And so, and we see the description of it here.
Yes. Oh, totally, Zen.
Yeah.
It's so sad what the church has become. Like, it's
Right.
just, to me, it makes more sense to call it a circus nowadays, just because
Right.
they're all about the entertainment. They're all about catering to all these different pronoun groups, if you want to call it that, and just even the pastors. I mean, they're coming out and saying, "Hey, guess what? I'm actually female." When it's obviously a guy. I mean, it's just the corruption is just getting worse and worse. And this is in prophecy that, I mean, of course, Satan is going to target those who are supposed to be ministers of the Most High, and their congregations and their theology and their doctrine. And it's just, I think we're going to see it get pretty bad. It's already getting super close here in the US, but I think that it's just going to be, we're going to see so much more corruption here in the next decade or so.
Yeah, I fully
It's just sickening.
agree.
Yeah, it's sickening to know that all of this started with Satan, as usual, and his firstborn son, and how they're already calling him the lawless one here.
Right.
It's just, I wanted to ask you a quick question too. In your opinion, when the last verse in here where it talks about how he said, "I saw desire, and in her hand the head of every kind of lawlessness, and her scorn and contempt and waste assigned to perdition." Do you think he's talking about desire as like a demonic entity, or maybe a fallen angel, or what do you think he's referring to there, Zen?
Yeah, I think it's like a demonic entity, a spirit. You know how like the Holy Spirit is the spirit of wisdom, prophecy, knowledge, all of those things. In similarity, we see that, like the Pandora's box, there were these things that came out that were abomination, and there was one that was the spirit of hope that was remaining. But yeah, and so I think that, anger, desire, gluttony, the seven deadly sins, in the similarity to the Holy Spirit being the seven spirits of like wisdom, intelligence, knowledge, prophecy, all that. In the same way, there are spirits, demonic spirits and entities that are pushing abomination and lawlessness and behaviors that are considered evil by the Most High. And, that's what the powers of principalities, the rulers of darkness do. They want people to engage in sin, and they tempt them with the various aspects of sin, which lust, desire, sexual depravity, abomination, all those kind of things are part of the demonic spirit of, desire, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the Testament of Reuben. He goes into
Yes.
those different spirits, and I just flipped over to his testament that's in here, the pseudepigraphal Charlesworth. Would you like me to read this real quick, just like
Yeah,
so they
please.
can hear all those
Yeah.
spirits you're talking about?
Absolutely, that'd be great.
Okay, so he said, let's see, "For 7 spirits are established against mankind, and they are the sources of the deeds of youth. And 7 other spirits are given to man at creation, so that by them every human deed is done. First is the spirit of life, with which man is created as a composite being. The second is the spirit of seeing, with which comes desire. The third is the spirit of hearing, with which comes instruction. The fourth is the spirit of smell, with which is given taste for drawing air and breath. The fifth is the spirit of speech, with which comes knowledge. The sixth is the spirit of taste for consuming food and drink. By it comes strength, because in food is the substance of strength. The seventh is the spirit of procreation and intercourse, with which comes sins through fondness for pleasure. For this reason, it was the last in creation and the first in youth, because it is filled with ignorance. It leads the young person like a blind man into a ditch and like an animal over a cliff. And then it said, in addition to all is an eighth spirit of sleep, with which is created the ecstasy of nature and the image of death. And with these are commingled the spirits of error. The spirit of promiscuity resides in the nature and the senses, a second spirit of insatiability in the stomach, a third spirit of strife in the liver and the gall, a fourth spirit of flattery and trickery, in order that through excessive effort one might appear to be at the height of his powers, a fifth spirit of arrogance, that one might be boastful and haughty, a sixth spirit of lying, which through destructiveness and rivalry handles his affairs smoothly and secretively, even with his relatives and his household, and a seventh spirit of injustice, with which are thefts and crooked dealings, in order that one might gain his heart's desire. So that kind of gives a little rundown of how Satan can use all of the good things created by the Most High and just twist them for his evil purposes.
Yes, turn them upside down. Even, the word live, Live, backwards it is evil. So um, Satan is the opposite. He's the antagonist of everything that is good. And so, as we have the spirits of goodness, spirits of wisdom, and knowledge and truth, and all the prevailing mercies of the Most High, in the same way we have the evil aspects and evil characteristics, and that Cain, even he was inclined towards evil. He had a demeanor that opened him to a willingness to murder even his brother. And so we see that in the Gospel of Philip, it says that first adultery came into being, then murder. And so, and that Cain was the child of the serpent. And so, again, those things are further confirming witness to the chapters that we are reading here in the Apocalypse of Abraham.
Yes, there's a couple questions for you in the chat, Zen. The
Sure.
first one is from Tammy George. She said, Zen, you think demons could still be good even though it's a demon?
One second, I'm going to take some water and then I'll
Okay. Yeah, no problem. It looks like a couple people tried to answer you, Tammy, but I'm interested to hear what Zen has to say as well. Although we know that demons are the spirits of the Nephilim giants, so I'm not sure.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I think that the fallen angels have free will in much the same capacity that humanity does. However, that when they fell and they became legion, they were assigned to be the adversaries of humanity. I think the majority of them assume those roles. And because they do not want humanity to inherit the ordinances which they left behind and which they abandoned, they want to lead us into evil. And they utilize temptation and seduction to do that. And so they are at war, as it says, that there would be enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, and that this war would continue on go till the end of the age. And so, I think that we see that that demons have free will. However, because they are legion, they are assigned, and I think they are familiar and willing to take on the role of being the powers, the principality, and they indulge in the sexual pleasures of being in physical form by assuming and possessing people and those that are willing to give themselves up to such possession. And so, um, even though the demons have free will, they choose evil in the same manner that the children of God, the people of God, the sheep, they choose goodness and mercy and follow the commandments of the Most High, to not murder, to not bear false witness, to not steal, to honor mother, father, and all those different things. And so we see in John chapter 3, it also talks about the difference between the children of perdition and that of the children of the Most High. And so, but the there are stories of good giants,
Hmm.
and that some giants were helpers to humanity, and so I don't think we can just lump them all together, but the majority, I would say, uh, that are legion, they are evil, and they relish in being evil. They would rather reign in hell than serve in heaven. They want to rule over kingdoms of their own, and they do that here. They are assigned, different angels, different principalities, oversee different nations and different tongues, different tribes, different peoples.
Right, right. Well, thank you for that answer, Zen. There's one more question in here before we continue from Dale Stevenson. He's asking, Zen, do you think Pandora was real? I'm not sure if he means Pandora's box or
I
Pandora the
think
movie.
metaphorically, it was real in that the eating of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, that is what caused our ancestors, Adam and Eve, to lose their bright nature and to be placed under the authority of death. And they were removed from the place of paradise, the garden of God, and the home of the immortals. And they were placed on the earth where the other fallen angels, the rebel angels, had previously been banished to. And so now we find ourselves living, dwelling, and being in the presence of Legion. And that's why we see in this world there is a prevalence of evil, of destruction, of abomination. And we, even though, we do see things and goodness and harmony and serenity, and we experience goodness and kindness and joy, ecstasy here in this world. But still, this duality, the earth is where spirit and matter come together, and the full spectrum of goodness and evil is to be experienced by our senses and the different aspects of our senses, as you read and as was mentioned in the Testament of Reuben.
Yes, yes. Oh, thank you so much for that, Zen. All right, I don't see any other questions, so if you'd like to continue, we're on chapter 25.
Yes. I saw there the likeness of the idol of jealousy, like a carpenter's figure, such as my father used to make, and its body was of glittering copper, and before it a man, and he was worshiping, and there was an altar opposite it, and boys being slaughtered on it in the face of the idol. And I said to him, what is this idol? Or what is the altar? Or who are those being sacrificed? Or who is the sacrificer? Or what is the handsome temple which I see? The art and beauty of your glory that lies beneath your throne? And he said, Hear, Abraham, this temple which you have seen, the altar and the works of art, this is my idea of the priesthood of the name of my glory, where every petition of man will enter and dwell, the ascent of kings and prophets, and whatever sacrifice I decree to be made for me among my coming people, even of your tribe. And the body you saw is my anger, because the people who will come to me out of you will make me angry. And the man you saw slaughtering is he who angers me, and the sacrifice is a killing of those who are for me, a testimony of the judgment of the completion at the beginning of creation.
Right column. And I saw there the likeness of the idol of jealousy, carved in woodwork, such as my father was wont to make. And its body was of glittering bronze, which covered the wood. And before it, I saw a man who was worshipping the idol, and in front of him there was an altar, and upon the altar a boy slain in the presence of the idol. And I said to him, What is this idol and this altar? And who is he who is sacrificed? And what is this great building which I see, beautiful in art and design, even with a beauty like that which lies beneath your throne? And he said, Hear, Abraham, for that which you see is the temple, a copy of that which is in the heavens, glorious in its aspect and beauty, even as I shall give it to the sons of men, to ordain a priesthood for my glorious name, and in which the prayers of man shall be uttered, and sacrifices offered, as I ordained to your people, even those who shall arise out of your generation. But the idol which you saw is the image of jealousy, set up by some of those who shall come forth from your own loins in the later days. And the man who sacrifices in murder is he who pollutes my temple, and such are witnesses to the final judgment, and their lot has been set from the beginning of creation. Then?
I think, again, it's just a further a description and more detailed elucidation as to the differences between the children of God, the sons of Adam, and the children of perdition, those that are derived of Azazel, that are from their progenitor, Cain, the original tear. And so we see the story. God tells us that even the children of Abraham, that there would be a particular, the children of Levi, they would become the priesthood. They would be assigned the task of being those that worked the altars of the Most High, and that did the daily sacrifice, that did the offerings, that did the waving of the barley sheaf, those things, the priesthood and the order of Melchizedek. But there's another group in that even the children of Levi, they would fall to perdition, that they would become and involve themselves in abomination. And that we see in the history, that throughout the generations, that there has always been this struggle for people to remain righteous and to remain under the protection and the grace of the Most High. That we see that he had even had to divorce his people at one time because of the abomination they were involved in. And that it's difficult to remain on a narrow path of righteousness. It's easy to fall to temptation and to involve oneself in sin. And so that's why we have to daily. The war in heaven is now found within our hearts, within the decisions and the thoughts that we daily have, that we are constantly bombarded, invaded by, evil thoughts. And the struggle is to not identify with that aspect of ourselves. Now, in the Shepherd of Hermas, mandate number 6, it talks about the war, the struggle of each of us as humans, fallen, put into flesh form, that we struggle between the angel of righteousness and the angel of unrighteousness, that the Holy Spirit is the conscience within us that wants to lead us into doing good and supporting good. But Satan wants to place into our minds temptation and to lead us into sin, because, as I said, he does not want us, humanity, to inherit the ordinances that they abandoned so long ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true, Zen. There's a quick question in chat. I don't know if it's quick or not, but you've covered some of this already, actually. Donna Smith was asking if you could describe or speak on elementals. Because we kind of covered a little bit of that already with the demonic entities, but this particular type of demon, I believe, the elementals.
Yeah, elementals, I don't believe are good or evil. I think that they are primal, in that they are part of the fabric of creation, like the wind, the air. We have the 4 elements in that of the void: water, air, earth, fire. That these elements are not necessarily good or evil. They can be used for both good and evil, and they can be used by the Most High as judgment against the world of perdition and against humanity if judgment is necessary. However, we know that fire brings warmth and blessing. It fights and dislodges the cold and helps one to stay warm. That breeze and air can be similar on very hot days, that if you have a gentle zephyr, it can be very kind in keeping one in comfort. And so I don't think at all that the elements are inclined towards evil or are demonic in spirit, but that they are just primal, that they are part, again, of the fabric of creation.
All right. Thank you so much, Zen. That helped to make it more clear to me as well. I wasn't sure how to answer that one. Would you like to do another chapter? It looks like we have about 6 minutes left. I think the next one is a little bit short.
All right, let's do it. Chapter 26. And I said, Eternal Mighty One, why did you establish it to be so, and to call on the testimonies of this one? And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, and understand what I will explain to you, and answer whatever I ask you. Why did your father Terah not obey your voice and abandon the demonic worship of idols until he perished and all his house with him? And I said, Eternal Mighty One, surely because it did not please him to obey me, nor did I follow his works. And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, as the counsel of your father is in him, as your counsel is in you, so also the counsel of my will is ready. In days to come you will not know them in advance, nor the future men. You will see with your own eyes that they are of your seed. Look at the picture.
Right, calm. And I said, O Eternal, Mighty One, why have you established that it should be so, and then proclaimed the knowledge thereof? And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, and understand what I say to you, and answer my question. Why did your father Terah not listen to your voice? And why did he not cease from his idolatrous practices, together with his whole house? And I said, O Eternal One, it was entirely because he did not choose to listen to my voice, and likewise I did not choose to listen to his counsel. And he said to me, the will of your father is within him, and your own will is within you. And so also the counsel of my own will is within me, and is ready for the coming days, even before you have any knowledge of them, or can see with your eyes what is the future of them. Now look again into the picture, and see how it will be with your seed. I think that's a very interesting chapter that he brings up his father.
Yes, because, his father was an idol maker, and he worshiped stone and wood and believed them to be gods. Even if they were to be, like possessed by Satan and speak, which that often did happen with idols, and that's why they were worshipped in many different places and cultures and civilizations. But still, Abraham asked, and looked behind the idols of stone and wood and copper and silver and gold, because he knew that there was a maker, in the same way that there had to be a maker, and that there was intelligent design to the creation of humanity. Because the scriptures state that we were made in the image of Elohim, male and female created they them. So the male aspect is the Father and the Son, and the feminine aspect is the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And so humanity is much like the heavenly family, the celestial hierarchy of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Being made in their image, we also, in this fallen state, we have to procreate in order to propagate our race. But as is also stated, angels do not marry in heaven. They are not assigned spouses. They do not have spouses because there's no reason to procreate.
Right. That's so true, Zen. A lot of people take that verse that talks about that in the New Testament, and they try to insert that into Genesis 6 and say, oh no, that can't be the angels, that's the sons of Seth, and you know what I mean? They try to twist that verse around and make it so Genesis 6 is not about the giants, right?
Right. Yeah, they try to twist and turn scripture to, make it fit what they believe to be of truth, instead of just reading and studying, especially in looking at the more ancient languages. Because in looking at and reading the definitions and the words that were chosen to convey a certain thought and a particular picture, the original Hebrew and the Greek is very important for understanding what those words and sentences are actually supposed to mean.
Yes, that's so true. Real quick, there's a comment from Samuel Roberts. If you're going to Ask Me Anything, Zen, did you have an idea where people could email you questions for the first one, or do you have any?
Yes, you can email them either to myself or Lisa, or even at sacredwordpublishing.com and contact us there. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
God
Zen.
bless all.
Blessings.
Good night. Thank
See
you,
this
Lisa.
weekend. Thank you, Zen. Good night.
Good
Shalom.
night, all. Shalom.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda,
and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.